issue that is, you've seen it in the news as of late in regards to the city of Detroit and the Detroit Workforce Development Department issue. And I know a lot of our focus as of late has been on election, but you know, as I know, Ally seeks to bring current issues and make you apprised of those issues at your earliest convenience. And so here with us today is Ms. Terry Henderson, President and CEO of TWW and Associates. She's going to talk to us about what's at stake with the new Workforce Development Department issue and where this whole issue stands at this time. So please join me in welcoming Ms. Terry Henderson.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I need to say that it's so much wrong in what's happening. It's just so much wrong. We are a part in workforce development with what's happened with the health department, what's going on with human services. And I'm going to just be real basic and frank. An example in human services, which Head Start falls under human services. What happened with that is that there were some issues, there are always issues, but the feds came in and said, we're not going to allow you to privatize Head Start, City of Detroit, Mayor Bean, based upon a recommendation to, again, farm it out. We're not going to allow that. So we'll assume the responsibility to manage Head Start until we can come up with a plan to change the vendors, the contractors, if needed. In the health department, there are some funds that are federal funds, and it ended up the same thing has happened to a certain degree. There are some funds that, even though they attempted, they being the mayor's office through recommendation, through this whole piece from the governor, they said, no, 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 these funds can't be operated by a nonprofit. They have to be operated by the city of Detroit because we hold you responsible. If the funding is misused, abused, they come back to the city of Detroit, and it has to be paid out of taxpayers' money, not the federal money. With Detroit Workforce Development, it is the issue to where 90%, 99% of the funding was actually federal, has been, and is federal, by way of the state. And again, the state decided that they were going to assume the responsibility and develop this nonprofit. However, the city had to approve it, was supposed to approve it, by way of a plan. When you reorganize, our charter says we're supposed to have a plan in place. And the plan has not been developed. They have moved forth with putting in place this plan. And one of the major things that's happened is that they have not only terminated our contract, and we have been providing services through workforce development. I've been involved for over 30 years. I came from Wayne County Community College when back then it was CETA dollars, and I was responsible for working with the city then, and then moved on and became a contractor myself. So for the last 25 years, I have served the city of Detroit residents in doing welfare to work activities. We've had model programs, pilot programs. I've been to the White House because of a program we operated here in Detroit. And all of that is great because I've had the opportunity to be able to truly look from a holistic perspective at what's needed. So I started child care centers because you're saying, okay, women in particular who are receiving assistance, we need you to receive training to get a job. You had children. And in the city, we didn't have a lot of child care centers in the city 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because it really wasn't that profitable. Because we had so many stay-at-home moms or relatives who took care, or grandparents. But with the need for childcare and the need for training so that those who didn't have the opportunity to finish high school and maybe go to college for a career or to get a stable job or couldn't get in the factories or whatever, the whole initiative of Welfare to Work, it started off with, employment and training and all in the city, and we worked very closely with the community colleges. We had high school completion. We had dollars to do a lot of things that really made a difference. I think, though, this whole aspect of privatizing, the fact that over the last year, our current mayor saying that we can't handle our business, our programs, human services, the health department, and workforce development in particular, saying that we don't have the skill, we don't do that well. I took personal offense, and most of us should have, because we've been doing it. I've lived in this city all my life, and I consider myself a servant leader. I've had the opportunity to go away to college and all, but I've been right here trying to make a difference to help, because some of us, that's what we're meant to do. And unfortunately, saying that we can't do it has just been a doggone shame, because we have and we can. Bringing in outsiders, folks from other states, and that's what's happened in the case with workforce development. There is a major contractor that came in and has a contract from New York, and they're operating the one-stops at Samaritan Center, 455 West Fort, and it was unnecessary. They came and they laid off or fired City of Detroit residents who had been working for years. With our contract, and I have, again, over the last 25 years, I've had one of the longest contracts, and we've done all aspects, the training, the, just job search, rehab counseling, but we work with families. We work with families because we know to make a difference, you have to be concerned about the children. You have to be concerned of what's happening in the high schools. You have to be concerned about the big picture. And we've done a great job, and I'm not saying that. My staff, I have about 5 ministers who have worked and are working, but they've retired, and they give. And they work because they want to make a difference, a positive difference, and we do. I have social workers, professionals. I exceed most of the requirements of the contract because I can, because I have been fortunate enough to get people who believe in what we do. So for the city of Detroit, with the mayor and the person that's the director of the program, who has a 1.5 years experience in operating, 1.5 years, not a social work, not an education, none of the related background experience to really be in the position, decides that we're no longer going to be a contractor, and not even clear about the legislation, not even clear about the requirements. Because when you have federal money, as some of you know, most of you, that you have specifics that you must do. And it's so many things that have not been done. There's so many things that we may experience disallowed costs, meaning the city of Detroit will have to pay the money back because we didn't use it properly. That is just so upsetting. I mean, even in the sense for us as a contractor, that's one thing. And we have filed the grievances through the process with the federal government. We're going through that process, going through the city. I was at city council. I've been going to every city council meeting over the last months, because not just for us, but for the city. It's my neighbor, it's my cousin, it's your sister or grandchild who's being affected by what's happening with the services that we deserve in Detroit, that we are losing, and losing because these folks from the outside are concerned about money. They come here for money. They come here for money. Yes, Detroit deserves and qualifies. We're eligible for lots of different funding. But what's happening is that we have folks who are coming in We have now more teachers who come through our program, more professionals because of what's happening with the Detroit Public Schools. We have folks who've worked 15, 20 years and have never, ever had to receive assistance, they've lost their jobs. So now they're coming. We have folks who were in our program referred to us who were living in their cars. They were homeless. I'm talking about teachers, professionals. And now, with what's happening with us, with the health department, if that continues and doesn't stop, you have 200 or 300 professionals who will be laid off or unemployed. You have with workforce development another 100 or so. And I mean, it's just going on and on. So as far as what we can do to make a difference, I don't know. I'm doing everything I can by trying to explain to people what's happening. I'm not a politician, but I am a citizen. And I know we have our rights, and we are not receiving the services that we should. So the importance to vote, the importance to explain to folks, we've always had voter registration, our customers, and it used to be to where it was no question. Oh, everybody got registered. That was a requirement. We encourage, we work to educate, we advocate. We have to do that. But that's not happening from these people that don't care about Detroit. They don't care. They come here to make the money, and then they leave. So I'm hoping that we can talk about where we are with the process as it affects the city, because it affects the city. The schools, we work with the schools. You have to work with the schools. You have parents. We have to encourage our parents to be the best parent they can be, and a lot of them don't know how. They don't even know they have a voice. So I think that working together, working with us, helping us, giving us some direction is what we're asking the NAACP, and we have done everything we can. We've had our customers to go. We've gone to the mayor's office. We took customers who said, they were referred to another vendor who is not a Detroit-based company, and they didn't even have chairs. They didn't have classrooms. They didn't have the space for them. They didn't have the capacity. We have folks who were referred to this other company, and they couldn't accommodate them. So of course they came back. Well, Ms. H, what we're supposed to do? Mr. Cuffey, what are we supposed to do? And we're trying to make sure, because when a case is closed, that means they don't get their food stamps. They don't get their money for their housing. That's not the person only, that's the family. That's why we have the issues in our schools, because we're not able to communicate totally with the family as this is your right and this is what you need to do. And you have to do it at this time. But with us, you can't say, well, come today and come back 2 weeks. And then you don't put in the computer the right information, and therefore the person, right. And it's unfair. And we have situations, we have people who have jobs, they can't get to the jobs because they don't have the bus tickets that we're supposed to provide for them. It is just an unbelievable situation. So I'm hoping that the questions, I guess asking questions is something, holding people accountable, yes. We need help to know what we should do, because it's affecting the city and it's going to get worse before better. Thank you.